Franklin County Commissioners met Monday and set the tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July, but spent more time scanning through plans to renovate North and South middle schools or replace them with a new middle school. Director of Schools Amy Lonis got all the commissioners' attention on the proposal.
Good evening. On the first evening of summer, this official start today, I found out this morning, even though it's been hot for the last couple of weeks. I gave you earlier a copy of some slides that were presented last week to the school board at their meeting in June, and just wanted to share that information with you. We've been working very closely with OLG, Oliver Little and Gibson out of Tullahoma, and they've done a really good job of studying the two existing buildings and putting together basically a proposal for what needs to happen, kind of a way ahead with our middle schools. As you know, there's some issues there with the buildings as old as they are and the design of those. We have had a committee of our primary stakeholders, Stanley Beans actually chaired that committee, that has worked with OLG to take a look at what are those concerns from a teacher and administrator perspective and a parent's perspective. So we've collected that information, passed it on to OLG, and they completed this study. They started back in December, so this has not been a quick turn. They spent quite a bit of time on this, looking at those infrastructure that exists, and then what would they also recommend as far as upgrading those. I'm not going to go through all the slides, but I give this to you for your review, and I will answer any questions that you may have. There is a couple of slides that I will point out to you, and these aren't numbered, but it's toward the back. Obviously, the big question is, on everyone's mind, is what is the cost? So to share that information with you, it's not actually notated on the slide, so I'll do that now. It's actually the slide that says North Middle School opinion of cost. And then there's one South Middle School opinion of cost, and they're very close as far as price range. The estimated cost for each of those sites is between $16.5 million and $17.5 million. So that's the estimation for each of the sites, which we round up on those. We're looking at about $34–35 million to do both of our middle schools currently. And that basically means a complete rehab, because once you start into a building, you get into code specifications, and we have to bring those buildings up to code. So once we touch anything in the building, then there's other things that kind of have to fall into place. An example of that is when those buildings were built, you didn't have to have a sprinkler system. We had outside doors to every classroom, and that was the modification that was used for egress from the building. We want to now sprinkle that building, and the reason is because today, for security reasons, and the sheriff can also tell you this, and we test to it, to have outside entrances into those classrooms, it's very hard to secure that building. Both of those buildings are pretty much wide open. So there's a real concern for school safety in those, the current structures as they are built. So all of that was taken into consideration, and all of that is part of this $16.5 to $17.5 million price tag on each of those sites. The next part of this is actually the following page. It's combined school opinion of cost. This is what it would cost if we actually decided, instead of having the two schools, we consolidate and build a new facility. The cost estimate on that is between $29 and $32 million for a new site, and that would house approximately 1,200 students. So just to kind of give you a ballpark for both of those. And I shared that with you because I think it's important as we move forward. The board is not ready to make a decision on which direction we're going to head, but they did make a kind of a tasking that came out of Monday night's board meeting. They want to get the community input and kind of get a feel for what Franklin County sees as the future for our middle schools. So we are going to establish some town hall meetings that will start in early August when school starts back in session. And we'll start collecting the data from that survey and from input from community members and parents and even students. We would like to hear from them as well about what are the best options for us as we move forward with these existing structures or possibly building a consolidated site. The only thing that I will stress to you, when OLG gave us these numbers, obviously they gave it with a disclaimer, and we actually have a representative from them here tonight. If you have specific questions, they'll be able to answer those. I'm not the engineer, so I will give you as much information as I can. But in those estimations, building costs are right now continuing to go up, just progressively, because we're kind of on that rebound from the 2008 building cycle when we kind of hit the bottom. So every time we delay a project or wait on a project, it's going to cause those price estimates to increase. So that is just a rough estimate at this point in time. And we will try to get a little closer as we go through the process. So the intent is to go back to the school board in October with the results from the town hall meetings. And we're going to publicize those. We would encourage all of you to attend as well, and get some input as to what the community sees for the future. Then, after presenting it in October, the school board would like to be able to make a decision and get back to county commission by the end of this calendar year. So hopefully you will have something as a formal presentation to you by the end of the year. You have questions, Mr. Schultz?
Their estimate on the renovation stuff is like 35 million,
Mhm.
okay?
Top
But
end.
we already own the property,
Yes, sir.
but the new facility, is that including the property? Or
No, sir.
we have to go out and add whatever the cost is to obtain the property?
Correct. The
So
property.
that's going to
Mhm.
go on top of the 32 million.
Right. And we've kind of estimated, to be sure in a lot, about $500,000 for property. It also does not include if there's road work that has to be done, infrastructure. I mean, there's obviously widening of roads and putting in sewer and electric and water and all of that. That would also be included in some of that cost as well. So that only calls for the structure itself and what goes inside.
Question. First question is, if we were to sell the 2 existing locations, what's a real cash value? I mean, A, who's gonna wanna buy it, and B, what can we get for it?
That's a good question. In fact, I had a school board member ask me that on Monday at the meeting, what would we do with the properties as they exist? And my response was, that's the school board's decision. So the school board would basically have to look at those 2 existing properties and determine if we decided to consolidate, how to move forward with those. And I don't want to speak on, on their behalf, and I'm not even sure, I mean, we're not far enough into the process that we've looked at even the value of those. I mean, we all know that North Middle is prime real estate where it
Because
sits.
that could offset
I have no idea.
cost
Right.
for acquiring a new
Yes.
piece of property. Okay, another question. Has the study included cost savings if both facilities come together as far as office staff, utilities like internet and phones, only 1 bill instead of 2 bills, things like that? Have they looked at those cost savings over a long term?
Not long-term, but we have looked at some of that. I don't know, Stanley, if you want to speak to this, because you actually did that with the committee.
Yeah, it was hard to determine exactly what the cost would be, but there was significant cost savings. It's hard, I don't want to give a number because I don't want to be,
Yeah,
too
we're
vague.
probably not to that point yet of
I'll let
actually
you know after the
having.
meeting.
Obviously, you're gonna have a little bit less personnel, but it's not significant. Your cost savings comes in those areas that are kind of outside the scope of instruction. So when you talk about the cafeteria, obviously there's a
Right.
cost savings there.
What cafeteria?
Transportation, there would be a cost savings because you're consolidating into one. Electric, water, all of those things, because you're talking about a new building that is more structurally sound and efficient, which our 2 existing middle schools are not, because they've been there, 50 years, and it wasn't built during that time when there was that conservation going on. So obviously there would be some, but as far as the dollar amount, we have not assigned that.
We did determine that there wouldn't be a lot of change in teachers.
Right.
But administrators,
That's what I was thinking.
kind of the top people, low people.
Yeah. So instructionally, it's not gonna change that much. It would be outside those
But,
parameters.
you only need 1 principal instead of 2.
Right.
I mean, all those little tiny amounts add up over
Yes.
20 and 30 years'
Right,
time.
right. And we plan to get that information as we go through the process, so we'll have a better answer for you. We're just not that far into it yet.
Okay. The company that did the
Mhm.
study, did they also look at what kind of things could be done to make this a green building, and if there were federal grants to
I'm gonna defer to
compensate
OLG.
for that?
We didn't look at any, the aid you get from the government change over time. So TVA may have a benefit today for, say, solar energy or whatever, but it'll change in time, so we do not put that into that budget. But we do, the building is going to be designed to be efficient. That's just the way, to meet the energy codes today, doing, mechanical systems, lighting systems. So it's going to be an efficient building no matter what we do. It's got to be, just to meet the codes. And so we evaluate different systems as we're in the design process to give you the best bang for your buck for as energy efficiency.
But we still have 250-year-old buildings, you have to remodel, right?
That's correct.
Last time, When you spoke to us, you were talking about how the general school population is shrinking
Mhm.
in Franklin County. How does that factor in?
The population has shrunk. We are not shrinking currently.
Okay.
So there was a drop about 4 years ago, but we have slowly rebuilt that. This year, we were actually in the positive side of additional students. So we're seeing a little bit of growth each year. So it's not as significant as it was several years ago. And I think that was due to the recession and people moving out because of jobs and industry going away. So, but right now, we're on the positive side.
Dr. Lyons,
Mhm.
during construction, if the choice were to be remodeling or renovating the two schools that are in existence at this time, where would the children be housed? How long would that take? And what kind of expense would that be to the county?
I can answer part of that, and then I'm going to defer to OLG as well, because that question did come up from the school board last week. They had the same concerns. If we decide to redo the two existing, we would basically be putting in portables, and the students would rotate through the portables as we were able to rehab parts of the building. And it was it's estimated about an 18-month process, I think, correct? So at least a year and a half of a school year, and they would try to plan the major events in the summertime, obviously, when students aren't present, or during Christmas break, those sorts of things. But those of you, I've talked to a couple of people who have lived through the old high school when it went through its major renovations. They talk about being in the cafeteria and no food being served. You got a brown bag and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that you go through, and unfortunately that kind of leaves a bad impression as a student, because even now, older people my age will comment on when they were at the old high school and they went through that process and how disruptive it was. And that's what they remember about their high school
You're
career.
going to have facilities to put them in.
Correct.
Just say that.
Yes.
How is that going to be structured, or do you know?
Right. It would be portables. We would bring in the portables and then try to rotate them through. Each of the buildings do have new classrooms that are being built as well, so obviously we would do that first. We could move some students into there, rotate some into the portables, and then we would have the pod, that pod would basically shut down.
Is the rental of the portable included in the $17.5 million quote?
No, it
So
is
that's
not.
an additional cost as well.
Yes.
Okay.
This is, and I know this is very preliminary.
It is.
Something we gotta look at, this new combined school, we're talking about putting it right beside our current new high school.
Mhm.
That is getting into prime commercial property. That's something we're pushing now, is commercial intake, and then you gotta think, what are we gonna do with traffic? What's traffic on the boulevard when school lets out, and on the bypass, taking in or letting out is also
Yeah.
kind of a mess now anyway.
Yes.
And then, you think of industrial problems. What if you have a spill at one of these plants, and we've got the majority of our school children here in one spot? I think those are some things that we need to.
Right, and that's why we
look at
want
too.
to hold these town hall meetings to collect that kind of information, because the community's gonna think of things that we haven't even thought of.
Correct.
And infrastructure is gonna be very important, that we make sure that we have the roadways and the egress and all accessible for that volume of students.
And no, I think you're doing a great job, so.
Thank you.
I thought there was some acreage there that's left from the new high school that we could possibly use. We didn't have to buy all the acreage.
The plot that is in here that you see is all land that would have to be purchased. There is an opportunity or possibility, because we do have a roadway that goes out by our maintenance in the back that's not being currently used as a route to kind of funnel traffic and move it away from that front bypass. So there might be some options to be able to get a better flow of the traffic, but again, that's something that has to be considered as we go forward. Mr. Goodman?
Would you do one and then do the other one if you decide to do that?
Well, we asked that question. The board also was curious about that. And basically, there is some cost savings if you did part of the work at one site and then move that same team, whatever it is they're working on, whether it's plumbing or electrical, to the other site. So it would be almost simultaneous with a little bit of a delay at one of the sites, simply because once you get those crews in town, then you can move them to the next site and have them do that as well. So it would be very close.
I'd invite any county commissioner who'd like to visit either north or south to let me know, and I'll make sure you get to visit if you'd like to see the condition of the two schools. Most of you have seen it, but you have not.
And I appreciate your time tonight. Like I said, this is very preliminary, but I wanted to keep you aware of what our kind of way ahead is. And the school board is very interested in getting public feedback on this. So as you're out and about and talking to constituents, please encourage them to attend these meetings. If they have concerns or have opinions that they'd like to have voiced, we will be setting those up and we'll get those out into the media as soon as possible. So, thank you.
Christine Hopkins brought what she said was hopeful news on the county's bid to get a technology college here.
I'm here to bring you up on where we are with our Tennessee College of Applied Technology. But before I do, I just want to publicly thank you all, and Mayor Stewart and Ms. Andrew and her crew, for what you all do every day to support the citizens of this county. You work hard, and it's a thankless job, and I appreciate it. I just wanted to say that. The Tennessee College of Applied Technology is not dead. In fact, right now, and it's very much alive, about 2 months ago, we received information that $20 million had been placed in the Tennessee Higher Education Fund, and the Senate then voted for another $4 million to make it $24 million. And we would have an opportunity to go in and ask for the $6 million to bid on $6 million of those dollars to bring the college here to this area. We have been working on that. We have not received the final RFP, but they asked us to secure support letters. And I'm happy to say right now we have at least 35 of those support letters. All of your major industries, every town, the mayor of every town, the mayor of all the surrounding counties. Haven't received Marion counties yet, but all the other mayors have submitted support letters. Our officials like Mayor Stewart and Mr. Eddy and Chamber of Commerce and a lot of the officials have also submitted a support letter. We feel better than we've ever felt before. The money was there last year, as you all know. In fact, this board, this youth commission, agreed to commit to $1 million if we could secure this technology college. And just the other night, the Franklin County School Board voted to extend the land of the old high school to 1 year to be able to hopefully bring the college to Franklin County. Can I guarantee it? No. Am I going to give up? No. But I do feel that we have a shot at it. In fact, we have been told by one of the commissioners of ECD that we would not be overlooked. And I'm hoping we can hold it to it. But again, I want to say thank you, and I just wanted to bring you up to where we are at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Christine. Ms. Christine never gives up.
In other business, commissioners tabled Jim Pinland's zoning request to the next commission meeting, but adopted those of Jim Sisk and Nick Berry on behalf of Ronnie Alonzo, and adopted the tax rates as offered at 2.6736 for county properties outside cities, 2.5995 for Cowan, Deckard, Estill Springs, and Huntland, and 2.3562 for Winchester, Suwanee, and Tullahoma.